for Caleb Williams. Kyle, I just had to do my own Olamide Zaccheaus from Virginia just to make sure I understood the history for that player. And we all know Caleb Williams from USC. Didn't suit up week 1 of the preseason. Well, week 2, he did. And I got to go to Rodney first because I just uttered USC. Oh. And immediately you're just like, I got to talk about Caleb Williams.
I know.
What'd you make of his performance yesterday?
I'm sitting next to Manti here, too.
Can't look to your right.
I'm getting a little
Two
anxious.
fingers came over.
Right?
You can't help
like a stab to the heart.
It's an involuntary response is what I have here. I thought it was fantastic. I'm with you, Kyle. Not quite to the Super Bowl parade yet, but I love the fact that he was on time, in rhythm, and because that was a knock, right? That he held the ball too long, like you mentioned. Sacked 64 times last year, most in the NFL, but every throw was in rhythm. He hit the back foot, he let it go. He looked very comfortable in the pocket, and you know there was a tremendous amount of pressure on him to start this game, given all the talk in training camp and him not performing well, throwing interceptions and all those things. But to come out firing on that first drive like he did, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, Rodney, I think it was fantastic not only by him but by Ben Johnson. You started to see this system implemented that Ben Johnson wants to run with him. To your point, you said the ball came out when his back foot hit the grass. That's something that's different from last year. I think last year they were requiring him to go through a progression that it wasn't set up where this year when I looked at the plays, all of his progression was in his line of sight. Like his first read, his second read, his third read were all in the same area. So it made it simple for him to be able to execute for the Chicago Bears. I did think that it was a little early. I thought they pulled him a little early. I thought if anything, they would have pulled him after the first drive where they drove down there and scored that touchdown. Now, the second drive, they go 6 plays and a punt. I expected him to come back out just so that they could finish on a more positive note. But what I did see from that Bears offense was this, like you saw in the highlight that KB talked about, there's a lot of tight end utilage there. There's a lot of tight end usage. Like it was just Komet and the guy from Michigan. There's a USC guy here talking about Michigan, man. What is going on in this show, KB? What are we talking about on this show?
Warm and fuzzy, baby.
Well, it's warm and fuzzy for the Chicago Bears, that's for sure. And I really thought that the way that Ben Johnson had this offense, just how quick it was. There was a pace from when they broke the huddle. There was an urgency to get to the line of scrimmage. There wasn't any kind of shuffling around. There was a system to it, and I really liked it, KB.
Listen, Manti's all over it. So if you didn't watch the game, Caleb played 2 drives. The second one ended prematurely, at least for Bears fans. Not in no small part to the fact that Roma Dunze had a big drop on the far sideline, a drop that Caleb took responsibility for, even though we all know that wasn't true, which is fine. The headline here is Caleb and Ben Johnson look smooth, they look efficient, they look comfortable, they looked good. Let's put this in proper context. This is the first time Caleb has ever played on an NFL field without an interim coach or an ill-suited coach, with like a proper coach to his skills. The last time he played a game, it was 7 months ago. He was with his third coordinator, his second head coach. He's in Lambeau Field winning, by the way, but this has been a long time coming. And listen, he hit both tight ends. He hit the wide receivers. He hit the wide receiver 1. He went to the wide receiver 2. Went to wide receiver 3. It's everything you could need. It was smooth. Getting the play in and out of the huddle was smooth. Everything was on time. They're trotting up to the line of scrimmage with tons of time on the play clock. And some of you fans of winning teams are like, what the heck? They get the play out on time? Yes, it's a big deal that the Bears got the play out on time. Give them credit. It's baby steps. You got to crawl before you can run, and he definitely crawled yesterday. Now, listen, I will say this for Bills fans. There was nobody really out there, save for maybe 2 or 3 guys out of 22, who are guys who are going to matter for the Bills this year. Sean McDermott did not play really anybody. On offense, on defense, it was true backups that the Bears ones were going against. So that's why it was 38-0. None of us care about the score. We care about what we're watching right here. And I will end by saying there's this person out there, this character in the preseason, he will just Scrooge anything positive or happy that you have to say about what happens on a football field. It's such an annoying internet character because for that person, this is the same person who's making fun of Caleb a few weeks ago. Understand the laws right now in NFL preseason, August 2025. If someone doesn't look great in practice, they're a bust. But if someone makes plays in an actual preseason game, whoa, chill out. It's just preseason. It means nothing. Learn ball. This is useless. You got to pick one. You can't have both. I know you want to, but you can't. Caleb looks smooth. The Bears look fine. We'll see how they look on that same field opening night against the Vikings.
Well, Kyle, to your point, Caleb Williams rose to the occasion, whatever standard in which you set upon the occasion that is preseason football. Rodney, I'll ask you, we were spending time last week on inspecting the things that Ben Johnson was saying about what he had put forth in front of Caleb Williams, which is, I am going to load him up. I'm going to put a lot of things on him. I really want to challenge him to see what he can do with that in terms of his skill set. What did you make of the responsibility that this new head coach, first-time head coach, has put on this quarterback and the way that Caleb Williams has responded?
I thought it was a good thing because you got to find out what he can do. You got to find out what his capacity is to load and decipher information. And to put that much on him early on, it makes sense because Caleb's got a world of talent. We all saw that at SC, and then his first year he struggled, and I think he got into a little bit of bad habits his last year at USC, trying to play a little bit of hero ball and trying to do too much and holding the ball a little longer. That doesn't work in the NFL, as we saw last year in his rookie season, and ended up with 60-plus sacks. So I thought it was good. And Ben Johnson, he's quarterback friendly, as we like to say as quarterbacks. He really is.
Yeah, you talked about those habits, and this is what I talked about as well when you watch Caleb. And I thought that it was going to be a challenge for Ben Johnson. Probably the most important challenge is trying to reprogram Caleb. Like somebody who has all of that talent, arm talent, smart, can ad-lib on the run. When you get sacked 68 times and you get into this habit of trying to run around and extend plays, that Ben Johnson had to come into the locker room and say, hey, like, take the first read. If the read is, throw it away. Like, just get him on a system and on a pace where he can just be on point. There's no need to run around. There's no need to extend plays. Just get the ball to the receiver. If it's not there, throw it away. And I thought that Caleb really demonstrated that last night.
I think one of the most amusing observations from Bears Twitter last night is that Ben Johnson is some sort of sociopath. He's up 38-0 at home, and he's not even smiling. Like, the cutaways of him on the sideline are dead serious, no levity, no relief whatsoever. And let's remember, like, we're talking so much about Caleb. Caleb is way more experienced at his job than Ben Johnson is at his. Caleb has a year under his belt. This was like positively. This look was amused. This was like one of his most happiest looks we saw at 38-0. Ben Johnson has never called plays during a game to Caleb. He's never been the head coach, save for a preseason game last week. And I thought what Caleb said after the game was really interesting. All the Bears media was asking him, what was Coach Johnson like during the game? What was he like? And Caleb said he's way calmer during the games than he is during practice. When he's on me in the headset, in practice, it's a lot of yelling and volume and energy. In the game, it was just smooth and calm. That is unusual. He should be amped. He's in front of the home crowd. He's got Caleb out there. I think this is a different kind of guy. Will it work or not? We'll see. But he does have that, like, my pulse doesn't bounce. A fly could land on my eyeball, and when Caleb's out there, I'm not even going to blink. I like that. It's icy as hell, and I think there's going to be more of it coming.
Kyle, I did the same thing. I found myself watching and studying Ben Johnson's face and body language to the point where, Kyle, we just had that screen of him, and he looked very serious in that. I go back to the press conference, the one in which he walked out in front of everybody. And, Kyler, I'm having this memory that you even were dissecting the way his golf pants looked and the way he took to the crowd and what he said. I translate this all the way to a different shot of his face. Oddly, we're starting our show with looking at Ben Johnson's face, but here we are. This is how much we care about the Chicago Bears.
Fine.
He looked, dare I say, kind of confident and cocky, if you will, in a good way. It matches the way he appeared in that first press conference when he was hired as head coach.
Yeah, he's got a switch. He showed up to the press conference with his adorable family and his wife and kids and this immaculate press. He looked like a golf pro, like your local golf pro. And then he showed up to the press conference and started talking and called out Matt LaFleur and did all. I think this guy's nuts, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, let's remember, like his guy, Dan Campbell was his guy. Campbell's completely nuts. And this is the guy he coached under. And so he's sitting there like with that crazy, like he looked like a Napoleon or something in some painting when he's up 38-0 at home. I like it. I'm into it. It wasn't too big for him. And I like a guy who's a little bit nuts. The Bears need that.
NFL Network joining us, insider joining us this morning. Tom, what's the latest on Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals?
Well, Jamie, contract talks between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals remain at an impasse, and Cincinnati is listening to trade offers for their four-time Pro Bowl defensive end. Now, I want to be clear, no trade is imminent. They're not going to give him away, but this is a rarity. The NFL's reigning sack leader is available for the right price. Right now, Hendrickson remains with the team. They got a game tonight in Washington. He is on that trip. The sides have been in agreement for several weeks on the big numbers, the years and the money in terms of a new contract extension. But the Bengals to this point have been unwilling to do what they did for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, which is break their structure and give guarantees beyond the 2025 season. So what would it take to get a Trey Hendrickson trade done? Again, a player who wants a multi-year commitment. Well, back before the draft, the Bengals had an offer on the table that was a second-round pick and change. At that time, they weren't willing to engage with that. They wanted a first-rounder. My understanding is that the price has softened or at least changed a little bit. At this point, the Bengals would want a player, somebody who maybe could even replace some of the production they got from Trey Hendrickson, as well as a pick in the 2026 draft. Is someone willing to step up and meet that price? That remains to be seen. The Bengals don't do a whole lot of trades for Hendrickson one way or another. He expects to get paid. He has made clear that much publicly. And even though the Bengals don't do those future guarantees, it makes sense. He's 30 years old. He's also a player who has not missed a game, has 35 sacks over the past couple of seasons, showing no signs of slowing down. There is interest around the league in potentially Trey Hendrickson being on the move.
This would only be the second time in history, Tom, that the NFL sack leader is traded the very next season. The first time being when the Chiefs traded Jared Allen to the Vikings. It's unbelievably rare, and I feel like Bengals fans are exasperated. Add to that, or maybe diffuse it, it's August 18th. Like, how does that complicate getting a trade done, getting a deal done? Like, the opener is coming. How does that affect the viability of us waking up and seeing tomorrow that you're telling us Trey Hendrickson's been traded?
Well, it's a great point in terms of the history on this because Jared Allen was traded. There were a bunch of different reasons. He had some off-the-field things. They weren't willing to make a commitment. For the Vikings, they thought that was something that was going to take them forward, setting up what occurred, I believe, 16 years ago today, which was the acquisition of Brett Favre on a 2-year contract and a run to the NFC Championship game. We also saw this about 7 years ago with Khalil Mack, where he became available around this same time of year. And it was a similar type of situation in terms of the Raiders simply weren't willing to pay the type of price on a contract that Khalil Mack wanted. John Gruden thought, hey, we're going to be able to rebuild the roster by getting what ended up being multiple first-round picks. They did send 2 back to Chicago as part of that deal. But it is possible. The issue becomes it's August. It's not April. You can't go out and draft the replacement for Trey Hendrickson, though the Bengals kind of did that in acquiring Shamar Stewart. It's a lot harder right now to replace that production. That's part of where the price, Kyle, has shifted here in terms of the Bengals not being hardline anymore in terms of we have to get a first-round pick. Maybe now it's a different defensive end that you think you can get some sack production from, and let's say a third-round pick, something in that type of area here. It is complicated, but the entire situation is complicated because right now, again, the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson, they've had the big numbers in place. We can talk about the average per year. The new deal would put him among the highest paid pass rushers. It would not reset that market. They simply have been intractable in terms of the guarantees. From the team's perspective, it's, hey, if in 2027 the guy's fallen off and he's 32, 33 years old, we don't want to be on the hook for that money. For Trey Hendrickson, he's going, what reason have I given you to believe that I'm going to fall off the map? It is a complicated situation. We'll see if it advances. But I can tell you there are several teams over the past several days that have checked in with the Bengals. There have been talks. It's not anywhere close to a deal actually getting done. But at this point, unless either Trey Hendrickson or the Bengals move in terms of the money, we're looking at a trade or potentially a scenario where a player who's due about $16.5 million in the last year of his contract will have a choice of, do I want to go out there and play on that number, or, given what Hendrickson said in the past, maybe even missing games to continue to try to get the type of contract and maybe a new team that he wants.
Each and every day. The quarterback room has played at a very high level. A lot of the guys in my room who I really look up to. So I try to continue to pick their brains, and I'm in a really unique and cool situation right now. So I'm just trying to learn from them, learn from all my coaches, and whenever my number is called, I think that I'm just going to try to do my best. But I'm also just going to be the best teammate that I can be, and try to push this team in the best direction to win.
He's obviously played really well in the preseason here.
You're talking about Jackson still?
Jackson, yeah. You've obviously said Russ is the starter. Is there anything he can do to get himself in that mix at this point?
Yeah, Russ is our starter, and we're going to keep developing Jackson.
Say it again, Kyle. What is it? What is the quote? Russ is the starter.
What's the quote, Jamie? I have so many quotes in my head, I have no earthly idea what it means. There's that chemistry you tune in for, guys. I don't know.
Russ is the starter. Say it again. Say it till we're blue in the face, Manti. All right, Jackson Dart. It only works, I guess, if you're at the table, huh? Dang it.
I knew where you were going. I knew you were going.
Russ is the starter.
I'm not playing with full deck today.
Oh, man. All right. Well, Russ is the starter. Jackson Dart looked great. Manti, the Giants have a real quandary on their hands. Not Quantez Stiger. It's quandary.
Quandary? I don't know. Quandary. What does quandary mean? We're talking some stuff on here, guys. Okay, all right. Let me get this car back on the tracks. Okay?
Quandary. Do they have a puzzle?
Quandary.
Do they have an issue?
Yeah.
A quandary. Thank you.
I got an issue.
Notre Dame, USC, quandary.
Quandary.
Whatever.
Nice job,
Okay.
Rodney.
Whatever. Okay. I got an issue, and this is this. I picked the Jets last week to have more wins than the Giants. Okay. I'm sorry. I take it back. Okay, I watched the Giants last night. I took it back, KB. All right, we make mistakes.
You were so confident.
I was, and then I watched that game, and I'm like, okay, this Giants team just looks different. They played. I think that was one of the most physical games that I ever seen from both teams, but especially the Giants. Now you do have a situation where you're playing with this physicality, you're playing with an attitude, and you still don't have certain guys in there. You still don't have Sexy Dexy in there. You still don't have Malik Neighbors in there, who's really the guy who lights this whole thing up for them. I do think that it is such a benefit and a luxury to have Russell Wilson there, and for Russell Wilson to be playing good football. He did hit Bo Collins out there, who went to the University of Notre Dame on this bomb right there. So I'm glad that we were able to get some representation on the big stage over there at MetLife Stadium. But I really felt that the way that Russell Wilson played this weekend was reminiscent of the Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson, and that is that's so nice for the Giants and Brian Daboll. So you can let Jackson Dart just mature and let him just be able to grow, so that when you do let him loose, that he's ready to go running.
Yeah, I think Jackson Dart is a tremendous talent. I think he played in a great system at Ole Miss. And by the way, he started his career at USC, so I got to give that shout out before he went to Ole Miss. But they're in a good situation. I think we're seeing what Brian Daboll can do as a play caller, as an offensive coordinator, calling plays. It kind of reminds me, if you remember, when Russ was a rookie back in Seattle. They had signed, I believe, Matt Flynn to be their starter and signed him to a big contract. Russ blew him away in training camp and in preseason. Yeah, and ended up being the starter. Pete Carroll said, no, he's our guy as a rookie. So this could be the same situation. I don't know if Daboll's willing to pull that trigger just yet, because once you start with Jackson Dart, it's hard to go back.
Yep.
So I like the attitude and where they're going with starting with Russ, see how it goes, because in New York, if they go 1-3 or whatever it is, they're going to be calling for Jackson real soon.
It's a great example with Russ. The perception of Russ at the time was this kind of short guy from Wisconsin who played baseball too. He didn't have this big profile, and he showed up and just could ball. Like immediately in practice, immediately in the preseason games, he just had it. Matt Flynn had signed the contract, and they said, I don't care. That kid is so good, we can't keep him off the field. I love that idea of history repeating itself, and Giants fans are and should be really excited about Jackson Dart. It's not just that he looks the part, that he looks comfortable. He's got style to him, whatever you want to call it, flair, panache, swag, aura. He just has it. He looks very cool out there. He's not going to start the opener. It's not going to happen. I don't care what he does in the next preseason game. I don't know care what he does in practice. Let me explain why. First of all, simple scheduling stuff. The Giants have a brutal opening to the season. At Washington, at Dallas, home Kansas City on national television, home Chargers. You want your veteran out there. You do not want to throw the rookie to the dogs. The other thing is history. Guys, you have to remember, all right, so Brian Daboll's been through this before a little bit. Brian Daboll was the Bills' offensive coordinator when they had another first-round rookie, and it was Josh Allen, who they traded up to get. Josh Allen did not start the opener in his first year for the Buffalo Bills. Nathan Peterman did. Nathan Peterman was the starter. You can look it up. And Josh Allen, athletic, big arm, everything. And they're like, no. The only way that Josh Allen got on the field was Peterman was out there losing 40-0 shortly into the season. And they said, all right, put him out there. And then Allen revealed himself. That was Nathan Peterman. Due respect. This is Russell Wilson. He's not going to do that. Russell Wilson is going to keep the train on the tracks. He's going to run the offense. It's going to be the starter. He was already asked afterwards. And I bet when Jackson Dart was scoring that touchdown or throwing the ball all around the other day, over the weekend, I bet Daboll was on the side. And just a little part of him was like, here we go. I know these questions are going to start coming. And sure enough, he's asked right after the game, is Jackson Dart or can he play himself into the starting role for the first week? He immediately says, Russ is our starter. We're going to continue developing Jackson. Let's remember that, guys. Giants fans, for the next couple of weeks, that's the soundbite. Russ is our starter. We're going to keep developing Jackson. He will not start the opener no matter what happens short of an injury. The question is, especially with that gauntlet, guys, that start, if the Giants are 1-2, if they're 0-3, do you say, let's go, baby, let's ignite this thing? I wonder what the leash is. I think, personally, Jackson Dart's starting week over-under is about 4.5, week 4.5 before he's out there. I just don't know if Russ still has it. The schedule is tough. And as good as Jackson Dart's looking, there'll be a pressure.
No, there's no way. There's no way. Every weekend there's a handful of things that happen where we're all used to this term that the kids say. No, there's no way that actually just happened. So here we go. We got a list. We each have a moment from preseason week 2 that we want to review because there's no way it happened, Manti.
No, there's no way this happened, but it did. Okay, Abdul Carter, the star rookie defensive end for the New York Giants. I don't know if guys, he got chipped. He got chipped this past weekend. That's okay. Ooh. That's all right. Ooh. And he was going all over Twitter. Everybody was saying stuff. He reacted to it, had some explicit words in there. But listen, guys, I love this play. Here's Abdul Carter's reaction to it. Yeah, he has to blur some of those out. It's a kid-friendly show, guys. It's a kid-friendly show. But listen.
That's amazing.
That was a great football play. Okay, if we watch that play, it's a great football play. Great play by the tight end. Great play by the tackle. I expect the tackle to try to finish the defender. They do that all the time. Yeah. But this is my question. Was he not defenseless? Was Abdul Carter not defenseless? He was. Okay? He was. All I'm asking, guys, is the stuff that we put for offensive guys to protect them, defenseless receivers, let's carry that over to the defense. You know what I mean? Give us a little bit. If you're not going to do that, then don't put it on an offense. That's all I'm saying, Rodney.
Wow. Are you saying that for real?
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, man.
He just did.
He did. He really did. My there's no way moment is from the city of brotherly love. Yes, Philadelphia. The Browns are playing the Eagles. And typical Philly fans, take a listen. Now, it's preseason in Philadelphia. They're booing the Eagles, the home team in Philly.
Yep.
It's just, they're all ready for the regular season in Philadelphia.
They're like, no, we want to deny that emotionally from being in our end zone. Can't do that. I kind of want to deny this emotionally. It was very jarring to see a minority owner of any team walk in and try to pay homage to maybe a former owner or the family. But the Tom Brady experience with the white Al Davis jacket walking up the tunnel, I was not prepared. I was not prepared to see it with the shades and the walk-in. I mean, it looks great, but at the same time, Kyle, I mean, this taps into and I feel like I might need NFL music under this, films music.
Yeah, I just wonder what Al Davis would think. I mean, it's cool, but that's Tom Brady is responsible for maybe the worst Raiders loss of all time in the Tuck Rule game. Al Davis might actually be spitting on the ground looking at this. Who knows? I think it's awesome. Great for you, Tom. Pretty cool. All right, listen, we have to move on. The end of the hour. I'm just going to throw to some videotape. Everybody likes this kind of play. Certainly Noah Eagle, who had the call. Go ahead.
From the 25 of the Chargers, they send the rush.
Oh,
this
boy.
time it is Pitts.
Oh, it's a big man interception.
T-Rod Edwards, a defensive tackle back to midfield.
Great job by Edwards there. Then he played a little running back in the day. Watch the feet. Run, big fella,
Natural.
run.
Stetson, careful.
Get out of there.
Careful, that's not a fella you want to tackle as a smaller quarterback.
All right, it wasn't Noah Eagle, but it was T-Rod Edwards. Unbelievable big man. And at the end, the fact that he lowered the shoulder and did not just go out of bounds. Listen, we see this more and more. Look at him rush and then drop, make a hands catch. And now right here, he says, no. That makes me laugh out loud on a Monday morning. T-Rod Edwards, I absolutely love you, big dude. He goes 305, and that's the play of the week for me.
I can't believe the shimmy on that.
A little joke.
Yeah.
KB, that's an anger runs right there, KB. I think he's going to be a finalist, but that's an anger run preseason.
Hang tight. So Dillon Gabriel, Rodney, we watched him. We got to look at him. We saw Shedeur last week. But still, the fact that we keep listing these quarterbacks this late in August, it's got to be kind of uncomfortable at this point.
Yes, especially if you're a rookie. These two rookies, they're in a tough situation because, first of all, Dillon Gabriel, he goes there, he's drafted in the third round. Okay, I'm the future. And then Shedeur gets drafted right after him with a big personality, all the things that come along with that. It's got to be very difficult, not only on Shedeur, but also on Dillon, because all of the attention is on Shedeur. So I don't envy that situation at all.
Yeah, and I'll talk about Dillon Gabriel's performance a little bit. The guy, he was accurate. Like, from what I saw, he was accurate. Like, you saw some of those passes on third down, some of those deep out routes. And you know this, Rodney, those deep out routes are the hardest routes to throw. But if you watch this interception, guys, just watch number 86. Watch the tight end Blake Whiteheart on this one. Like, everybody's going to talk about this interception, but watch Blake Whiteheart pull his hands back. Like, he just make the play. Like, it's right there for you. Just make the play. And so we did some, thanks to AD, our researcher, we did some what ifs. If the tight end caught the ball and got tackled right there, this is what Dillon Gabriel's stat line was going to be. 14 for 18 for 148 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Out of all those plays, out of all those throws, the only throw that you saw Dillon Gabriel make on social media all weekend long was that interception. You didn't see anything else. And I needed to come on this morning and say, Dillon Gabriel, you played a fantastic game. Like, you were accurate. You laid your team down there on the first drive for a touchdown. Now you threw that pick six, but tight end, catch the ball.
Or at least block it, at least knock it down, something.
I
just never seen that where he just retracted his hands and allowed the defender to pick it.
That's a conversation in the film.
He was like an outfielder who doesn't go for the ball because he thought his teammate was going to catch it. I feel like the wide receiver was there, so he pulled his hands back, and he didn't think it was maybe supposed to be thrown to him. That was very odd. Yeah,
it was very, very odd. And so, like, it's also odd for two guys to be that close together, two offensive guys to be that close. So I don't know if somebody ran the wrong route or whatever, but it was just one of those situations where, unfortunately for Dillon Gabriel, on his stat sheet, it does show an interception for a touchdown.
Well, listen, the headlines that Dillon Gabriel made over the weekend were about his quote about entertainers and everything, which I know Manti is going to talk about shortly. But I'm glad to have Rodney here, who has been in part of an unconventional quarterback room that leaves fans just saying, like, what are we doing here? Who's the guy? This one is still an all-timer. I still don't know where this one stands, except to say, well, I guess it's Flacco because, you know, he won the Super Bowl like 15 years ago and he's been around and stuff like that. You know what? I just keep going back to this moment in the offseason when Myles Garrett's going on a whistle-stop tour saying he wants to be traded out of Cleveland, and then they pay him about $1 billion, and he's like, I love it here. And he sat down and they were like, hey, so do you know what's going on with the quarterback? And he kind of just smiled. Remember this?
In all seriousness, do you know who the quarterback's going to be? I mean, do you have an idea?
After conversations, I do have an idea.
Okay. Do you like the idea?
I like it enough to be here smiling in front of you because I think we have a good chance of that happening and making the most out of it.
Can you tell us who it is, Myles?
You know I can't do that.
We got to unpack that because now sitting here in August, so they gave him some kind of idea. How did that conversation go? That's back in March. And they're like, Myles, we have this huge deal for you. And he's like, well, hold on. I'd like to know who the quarterback's going to be because this is a lot of money, but, I'm a veteran now and I want to win. They're like, glad you asked. It's going to be great. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to sign Kenny Pickett. We're going to trade for him. Kenny Pickett? From the Eagles, yeah, we're gonna trade a fifth-round pick in DTR for Kenny Pickett. He's like, all right, that's fine. And then we're gonna sign Joe Flacco. And he's like, Flacco, he's pretty old, isn't he? Yeah, but he's been around. He knows what he's doing. And then wait till we get to the draft. We're gonna just draft a quarterback in the 3rd round. He's all right, that's good. And we're gonna draft one in the 5th round. And then when camp comes around, we're gonna bring in Snoop Huntley. That's the idea. What do you think of it? He's like, that's a lot of money. That sounds great. Let me just sign. I didn't hear any of that nonsense you were saying, but I'd be happy to be a Cleveland Brown for life. What was that look and that expression and that smirk, if not for, yeah, they told me some sort of nonsense. I don't know what they're doing at quarterback, but I know Benjamin Franklin's my QB1. What is he smiling at there other than his direct deposit and how many Ferraris he's going to buy because they have 6 beaters and lemons and cars right off the lot at quarterback? That's the look of a man who's like, we ain't winning, but I'm earning big time. That is still the strangest response. And we're looking at it now, and it's like, well, quarterback depth charts, checking accounts, quarterback depth chart. Well, you know who my starting quarterback is? Wells Fargo. I love the man. He's got a great arm. Congratulations, Miles.
Kyle, what's even more fascinating about that breakdown of it is that there wasn't even a flirtation of a report or a news headline that had a quarterback worthy of that facial expression from Myles Garrett to warrant that response. It wasn't even like, oh, well, reports are that they are going to sign Rodgers or they're going to trade for Kirk Cousins. We never even heard any of that. It was literally sign him, and then the Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco Express started. So to me, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, there wasn't even a thought that we heard something really sexy that blew our hair back. That never happened.
Well, the idea at the time was, oh my gosh, they're going to make a big splash and draft Shedeur Sanders in the 1st round. Like, no, they let like 300 picks go by and they drafted him for a lot of different reasons. They didn't like him that much. They liked Gabriel more than him. So people thought like there must be something really cool coming. Yeah. And there we have a picture of a 5th-round pick and a guy who's really, really, really wealthy and might not win anything in his career. What can I say, guys? Like, that's just the point. But the fact that he gave Siciliano that, like, oh, yeah, they told me the plan, all right. They got something nasty coming. And it was this, like, Costco/landfill of players just in one position. Pick your own. Like, it's so strange, so weird.
I'm having a vision of like a wheelbarrow and the players are just in it and they're like, come on, quarterbacks, like jump in. We're getting to the season. Who wants to be a part of it? Now we've covered most of the highlights from over the weekend. Manti, there must be a player. Let's all go around the table, shall we? Player that caught our eye from over the weekend, preseason weekend 2.
Guys, got to be Stetson Bennett, guys.
Nice.
Like, out of Georgia, everybody knows his story. He wins a national championship. Then he goes through some mental health stuff. Well, he comes back and he plays the past 2 weeks, guys. This past week, he was 28 for 34, 324 yards and 3 TDs. Led them to a game-winning drive against the Chargers. Guys, did you know Stetson Bennett leads the NFL in the past 2 weeks in passing yards and passing TDs?
Let's go.
He's 7th in completion percentage, and his passer rating is 5th. Like, well done, Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Well done. Like, the guy has just shown tremendous hard work ethic, resilience. You can name all of those attributes. When I see Stetson Bennett out there doing what he needs to do, continuing to just persevere, I'm happy for this young man. Continue to do your thing, Stetson Bennett. We're following you.
Go ahead, Rodney. Who you got?
You know what? In a day, let's stick with the quarterbacks because in a day where nobody likes to play in the preseason, right? Yeah. Nobody wants to play. Justin Herbert went to Harbaugh earlier in the week, said, I want to play. Right? And he hasn't played. I didn't even know this. He has never played a preseason game.
I know. We were blown away by that last week.
Yeah, unbelievable. But he went and played. I think it sends a message to the rest of the team. Hey, I'm ready to go. And it was against the Rams, obviously, 2 LA teams. So it was good to see him out there. And it's refreshing that a guy wants to play in preseason.
What do you make of Herbert, though, just in general, Kyle, before you go? The fact that his 2nd year with Harbaugh. And do you think that this thing will finally click together?
It has to. This is his time. He's kind of flown under the radar a little bit when you talk about criticism.
Yeah.
But this is a year, 2nd year with Harbaugh, as you mentioned. He has to deliver. They have to go deep into the playoffs, I believe. Otherwise, they're going to start talking about him as a guy that can't get it done.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm going to go next. There is not a more jarring turn to make than from a guy who's on commercials all the time here in LA and Justin Herbert to an undrafted wide receiver in New England named Efton Chisholm. That's the player that caught my eye from over the weekend. Last weekend I had him in. Did you catch that? Just to make sure we had him on the list for names that you were paying attention to. Undrafted guy out of Eastern Washington. Now, he played 5 seasons at Eastern Washington because of the COVID season. He actually broke Cooper Kupp's reception record that he had at Eastern Washington. Cooper Kupp would obviously go to the Rams in the 3rd round. This guy goes undrafted, signed with the Patriots in late May, and now he's got quotes from his quarterback saying he stays after, he blocks in the run game, which we all know quarterbacks are obsessed with. He is working with the offensive coordinator constantly. Efton Chisholm, very likely that he's going to make a 53-man roster.
Jamie, you stole him. Like, that was my first choice was Efton Chisholm after watching that. I was like, oh, I'm going to pick that. And then I saw you pick them. I was like, oh,
Efton Chisholm and Isaac Tesla. Those are my guys.
Tesla.
Did you catch that, Kyle?
Love the names.
That's what
yeah, the names are wonderful.
I saw Tesla over the weekend. Again, not Tesla. I like that guy. He's good.
Right?
He's really good. But I will go for Efton Chisholm, an undrafted guy, to a guy who was drafted 6th overall. Why are we waiting this long to bring the Ashton Jeanty highlights? Let's just do it because this is not only entertaining, not only fun. This is sweet, sweet justice. Ashton Jeanty got the ball. He gets the ball from Geno. There was not this play, guys. Guys, give me the play. You know the play. I don't care about the check down. Let's get to the play that we want, that the people want. Here we go. Thank you. God, please let this be the play. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's the play. That's the play. That's the spot. That's the Kool-Aid man. Oh, yeah. Right through that red and gold wall. Listen, Ashton Jeanty, he's only 208 pounds, guys. That's not Derrick Henry out there, but he's 208 packed on a 5'8" chassis. That is how you get the physics involved in that play. And you know why I said justice?
Oh, no.
God, all these pictures are so great. I mean, they're so good. That's the damn Heisman pose right there, guys. He's doing it in a preseason game. But here's why I like it. Because we are so into the upside down with preseason takes on players. And it's one thing if you say, oh, this guy's the greatest guy ever because he did this in a preseason game. At least that's optimistic and positive. The opposite side of it, Bust City, midseason form. Midseason form guy is the worst. Bust guy is even worse. And Ashton Jeanty was hearing it last week after a game against the Seahawks in which he ended in negative yardage. So much so that it wasn't just the idiots online. The actual Seahawks who they played against got involved online and made jokes about Ashton Jeanty. Here's the joke. So the Seahawks stopped Jeanty to negative yards. They say some people are saying George Holani is the best running back out of Boise State. George Holani is the guy who they grabbed in 2004 and signed out of Boise State. And they're saying he's already better than Ashton Jeanty. Ha, ha, ha. I could bring up a million tweets from just booger-eating lemmings online making jokes that Jeanty didn't see competition like this at Boise State, isn't big enough for the pro game, bust city. Guys, it's not only is it preseason, it's a running back deal. Running backs get tackled for loss all the time. Saquon did a bunch last year. It's just part of the game. So finally, he comes out in the second preseason game, I say finally, and just trucks somebody. That's the guy that we're looking for. That's the guy that we want. And I think that's the guy that Pete Carroll has in Las Vegas. Thank you.
KB, just some context on that play where he trucked the DB. That was after he tried to truck the linebacker, hurt his shoulder a little bit, went into the blue tent, came back out, and was like, I'm going to truck somebody else. Like, that's just like, from a mentality standpoint, is like, I just hurt my right shoulder trying to truck a linebacker. Well, this time, I'm going to try to truck somebody else. And he continued to do that. Not only does he do this to Lenore, but he also does it in his touchdown run. So that's a mentality that I think that Pete Carroll has instilled in this Raiders team. You see it in him. You see it in Mad Max. You see it everywhere for this Raiders team. So it's been looking nice for the Raiders as of late.
This is such a thing that happens in the preseason where you see a play like this from a young running back and you're like, I'm drafting him in fantasy. I don't care. I'm drafting him. I'm taking him high. Like I have the number 2 pick in my draft, and everybody says that in the number 1 pick it's going to be either Bijan Robinson or or Jamar Chase, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I think I'm taking Gentry number 2. I don't know what all the fantasy guys say, and I just think I'm taking him. Like, you get seduced early on by a good highlight from a rookie. I'll never forget. I call it the Beanie Wells effect. Beanie Wells comes out of Ohio State in the preseason for the Cardinals, makes this incredible touchdown run, and I think I drafted him irresponsibly high that year just because you get intoxicated by this stuff. So I feel like, Gentry, like, if you're there at 2, and I think you will be, I may take you. I'll have to talk to my guys and Rosenthal and Adam Rank and all the guys who know more about fantasy than I do. But right now, I don't care if I'm drunk or not. I'm taking Gentry number 2. Talk me out of it. I don't care.
What people have to say specifically about really controversial topics in the NFL. So that is Dillon Gabriel during an in-game sideline interview after his couple series were done as the starter for the Browns this weekend, Manti. That's just a part of it. There are entertainers and there are competitors, and people ran with this because he has a very entertaining personality as a teammate in Cleveland, Manti.
Yeah, it's so funny that this is how we kind of navigate in media now. You read a headline and then you watch like a 7-second clip that relates to that headline, and then you base your opinions off of that 7-second clip instead of watching the whole thing. So I'm gonna do you a favor. I got the whole entire question and all those answers right here for you.
Nice.
You gave us some fabulous wisdom on how you tune out the noise and you don't let it infiltrate yourself. Will you share that with everybody at home?
Yeah, I think it's just part of it. You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. Of course, we're doing this mid-game, but you know, it's something that I'll get used to, and just want to be the best team that I can and create an environment where we can all go do our best work. That's all we want to do.
What's so important is right after that, right before we cut that segment, Aditi, the reporter, says, I'm sorry that we're doing this. I feel like you're calling me out. Like, the reporter didn't even think that when he said this that he was referring to Shedeur Sanders. Like, this is her response to everything that has been coming out about Dillon Gabriel and trying to make sure that everybody understands the context at who he's talking about. But to Kyle's point, Dillon could have chose better words, like saying entertainers and all of this. Like, it did put him in a position to be scrutinized there. But I will say this to all of those people that are giving this guy, this young man, a lot of flack for what he said. I think all those people should apologize to Shedeur, because off of a blank statement with no context on it, you put your context in that statement and immediately thought that he was referring to Shedeur Sanders. So you think that Shedeur Sanders is the entertainer. Now, he didn't say who he thought was what. He said, I'm the competitor. You guys put your spin on it. You guys put your thoughts and context on it and said, oh, he must be thinking that it's Shedeur Sanders. When I don't know Dillon Gabriel that well, but I do know him enough to say that when I heard the quote, I didn't even think of Shedeur Sanders. That didn't even come to mind. But I do know that you guys don't have that ability. 99.9% of people don't know Dillon. So I'm here to tell you, Dillon didn't. He's one of the most humble guys. And regardless of all of that, he and the reporter clarified what he was referring to. He could have used better words, Kyle, but I just thought that it was funny how this thing kind of took on a whole shape of its own based off a 7-second clip and a big headline.
Yeah, entertainer in this context is a loaded word. And if some of us remember, about 15 years ago, Cam Newton came out when he was entering the league and said he wants to be an entertainer and an icon, and people's eyes rolled out of their head, and then Cam had to walk it back and say all these things. So that word has been around the block before, and it's always very negative. It was just unfortunate, I think, that Dillon landed on that. But to Manti's point, look, there's a million pieces of media commentary we can have on this, and none of them are flattering. If you really think that Dillon Gabriel has it in his DNA to come out and take a direct shot at Shedeur Sanders in his own quarterback room, then Dillon Gabriel is some kind of crazy maniac. I don't think that's what he is about as a person. And also, I agree, Manti, if you saw this and said that he's talking about Shedeur, and if you wielded it for whatever content on whatever platform you're on, you're actually insulting Shedeur by you're the one saying he's an entertainer. Shedeur is all about work and on the field keeping his mouth shut and earning his teammates' respects. Don't paint him with that entertainer brush just because it's convenient and you get clicks. Dillon Gabriel did it by accident. Don't do it on purpose. Be better than that. But I know I'm talking to a wall right now.
Rodney, what do you make of the whole thing?
Yeah, maybe it was an accident, but you got to be smarter than that. I think you know the tension that is surrounding that quarterback room. You understand that there is a level, and it's either you love Shedeur or you hate him.
Yeah. So
there's no in between. And so I get it that he wasn't directly talking about Shedeur, but I'm telling you, 90% of the people out there thought he was.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because, they cleared it up afterwards. But when he says entertainer, and then you think about his teammate and the legendary draft day, all the things that he came from Colorado and showmanships and all that kind of stuff, there's no question that people would think, oh, he's taking a shot at Shedeur.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. And yes, I believe he's a good person, that he wouldn't do it intentionally. But sometimes that subconscious seeps in, and I'm sure there's a lot of tension in that quarterback room, unfair or fair, however you want to look at it. And sometimes things come out. And I'm just saying to Dillon, you got to be very careful with your words, because nowadays everything gets out there and everything gets blown out of proportion.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's choice of words. Like there's so much power in words. Like to say entertainer. Like we knew. After him explaining what happened and Aditi coming out and explaining that he was referring to the media and all the attention and all of that stuff, that they have a job as media to do what they have to do. And him as a player, he has to do. I think when he chose those two words, entertainer and competitor, the 90% to your point was like, I know exactly who he's referring to. I even went back and tried to see all of the things that he said in the past. And the only thing that I could ever grab was what his head coach said at Oregon when they played Colorado during their pregame speech. It's like, we're not on social media. Like, we're here to play this game.
He took a shot.
He took a shot, and you knew exactly where it was.
Right.
So that's the furthest I could take it, right? That's the furthest connection I could take it. But again, to this point, I think a lot of people are just led into this world of here's a headline. Here's a clip that's associated with that headline, and everybody doesn't take the time to listen to the entire interview and then base their own opinions off the entire interview. But definitely Dillon didn't make it easy.
I've got this family member who has this really fancy fireplace in their house, and the pilot light in the fireplace is very significant. It always makes me think the fire is actually on. And like, no, it's just the pilot light. Makes me feel like when these rookies go through media training, that every organization probably has a pilot light topic that you shouldn't go near because it's just going to stay lit. And it's like, Dillon Gabriel, don't even say anything that is close to the flame of the Shedeur Sanders category, and you'll be just fine. Otherwise, that pilot light, you flip that switch, and like everyone is just going to lose their minds over it because the media will light on fire about it. GMFB on. And now it's just all Isaac Tisslaw all the time. 4 catches for 41 yards. Lions take a 24-17 win. Rodney, you were drafted by the Lions. You played 5 seasons there. You still follow them pretty closely, I can imagine. The big knock on the Lions right now is the departure of both coordinators. They going to be okay offensively?
That's a tough blow. You lose a guy like Ben Johnson, who's, everybody's favorite for the last 3 years to be the next head coach somewhere, and he ended up in Chicago.
Right.
I would be more concerned if the Lions were dealing with a young quarterback and had a young quarterback at the helm. The fact that Jared Goff has been there for a little bit now, has played in the league long enough to understand, he has full grasp of that offense. And what I also like as well, and sometimes we saw this in Philadelphia where they dropped off when they lost both their coordinators, but the Lions hired from within, right? So the system's not going to change that much. And again, with a veteran quarterback, they should be okay. Now, is their window closing? Maybe. 2 years ago, they lost a 3-touchdown lead to San Francisco. And then they lost at home last year to the Commanders. So you wonder if that window's closing. But they got enough young stars on that team. I think they can still compete at a high level. I
also think, too, it has a Chiefs parallel because the emotional drain that comes with being so close. I actually think that Week 18 Vikings-Lions game, I think, emotionally spent that both of those teams into January. So I think it has a lot to do with how desperately the Lions, and they want it for their organization and the team in the city, but also it just takes such a toll on these teams to get to the point that they're at right now.
That's a good point. Absolutely, because it was for the division, right? And they both spent it out there, and obviously the Lions blew out the Vikings, and the Vikings, we saw what happened to them. They went down. But you may be right. They put so much into that, having home field all the way through, and it didn't pan out for them. So you wonder if they can continue.
Story time with Rodney Peete is next.